There is one aspect that has driven me insane, up a wall on social media that has happened not just this week, but in weeks past leading up to this point. And that is people in the media. Well, we won't call them reporters because they're not reporters. They're more analysts. They're more in the roles of watching the games and reacting to them. Not talk show hosts, but, they're more inside. The TV analysts you see. For examples, Joel Klatt, a great college football analyst for Fox. Kyle Brandt, great on the NFL Network. On the Good Morning Football show, Kyle Brandt, Joel Klatt, and plenty of others have media shamed, have Twitter shamed, and it's actually tried to blame sports reporters doing their jobs, which are, if you are a reporter, you report the facts. That is your goal. There's no opinion, there's no conjecture. What you do is you report the facts. And if you're a college football reporter, really, I'll lump this in all sports. If you are a sports reporter, you would not be doing your job. You're doing your audience a disservice if you are looking at the coronavirus in a realistic perspective and writing and talking to people about the virus's impact on playing the sport. And this weekend, of course, it's happened a lot, but I don't know why this one really set me off. But Joe Klatt over the weekend tweeted that basically he's excited to see that the players are finally pushing back. The media has been pushing negativity. The media has been really trying to take down the season, and now he's excited to see players put back. I'll read you the exact tweet right here because it is so disingenuous. It is so absurd to have this line of thinking. And it's partly the reason why we are where we are. It is part of the reason why we are in this country where we cannot get a handle on the virus. We still are basically spinning our wheels and are still way behind the rest of the world. This is Joe Klatt's tweet from the other day. Many in the college football media have worked hard to push panic and fear. Seeing many prominent players push back tonight, good for them. Joel, I understand you want to have a college football season. I want to have a college football season. Bill Bender wants to have a college football season. College football reporters want to have a college football season. Reporting the facts, reporting the challenges that college football faces in the wake of a pandemic is doing your job. It's not rooting for your job to fail. It's living in reality. It's pointing at the facts. Could you imagine from March to now, if all sports reporters did was put on rose-colored glasses, ignore the virus, and talk about how, excited they are for their sports to return. Once they do return, there's going to be no bumps. Imagine baseball reporters are talking about how, oh man, the teams are going to be fine. Players are going to be fine. We're going to get the season off and hitch, no big deal. And you watch the Marlins and the Cardinals have outbreaks, you would lose your mind. Games postponed. The season was almost shut down 3 days into the year. Could you imagine if you kept reading articles, reading tweets, and it was all positivity, it was all basically ignoring the virus, not taking it seriously, and instead just propping up the sport? We'll be fine. The NFL, no problem. Forget that football is the ultimate super spreader sport. Forget that snot, spit, sweat, heavy breathing, close quarters. Forget that that's basically the entirety of a football game. And if one player is asymptomatic on the field, the odds of everyone else getting it are very high. Forget that. Forget college football. No bubble, less testing resources, and having kids on campus. Screw it. It'll be fine. Could you imagine where we are? I feel shocked. Again, we've had shows talking about the challenges college football faces. And I feel a little bit blindsided, to be honest, about the timing of this all. Bill Bender, someone who lives in reality, someone who's doing his job as a reporter, isn't shocked because he saw this coming. He kept asking the question, how are we going to play college football with a pandemic going on? So he's not blown away. He's not mind blown. He's not shocked. But if I'm personally feeling shocked right now that the season is basically dead in this fall, while sports reporters have done their job in reporting the facts about the virus and the challenges that these sports face in returning, imagine we didn't hear about that. Imagine there was nothing to bring us down to reality. Imagine there was no reporting that really gave us an honest truth, the cold hard truth that we need to hear. And instead it was just, rainbows and lollipops. Oh, this is going to be so much fun. Let's start breaking down the rosters. Let's start breaking down these non-conference games that are definitely going to happen. Imagine how heartbroken, how frustrated we would be. Because guess what everyone else would be saying? Guess what everybody else, me, you, any other viewer, and I'm sure guys like Joe Klatt, I'm sure guys like Kyle Brandt would be saying to those people who quote or believe that media, by doing their job, is rooting for the virus and is rooting for sports to fail. You know what they'd be saying right now? If for the last 5 months, all reporters were talking about was the positives of sports returning? Or the likelihood that sports will return without any issues? They'd be freaking out. Reporters aren't doing their job. We feel heartbroken because guess what? The media lied to us. The fake news media. We would feel led astray because for 5 months we didn't hear the truth. So props to those reporters, and there's a lot of them, thankfully, that reported on the facts, that laid out the realistic challenges that schools, that teams, that sports face in trying to play amidst a pandemic. So shame on guys like Joel Klatt. Shame on guys like Kyle Brandt, Danny Kanell, and a bunch of others throughout these last few months that are trying to shame reporters that are doing their job and try to frame them as rooting for the virus, rooting for their own sport to fail, the sport that they cover for a living to fail, because they weren't all happy-go-lucky. They weren't all pandering to all of us who want to see sports back. They lived in reality. And I can only imagine what the reaction would be if no one or if everyone had the same mindset as Joe Klatt. Oh, you say anything negative, you're rooting for the virus. Do you feel happy? Do you feel happy that college football is dead? Should I ask Bill Bender that? Is he happy that the sport he covers for a living is dead for this fall? Are you happy that there's layoffs all throughout the sports world? It's insanity. It is insanity. It is so frustrating. And again, this has happened time and time again on social media. I understand Twitter is what it is. There's a lot of attention, look at me sort of tweets on Twitter. It's really a pissing contest to a certain extent. How can I say something that's going to get the most reaction? People are going to look at me. I'm going to get the attention that I want. I'm going to stand out amongst the millions of users. So I just want to get that off my chest. Very frustrating that, again, people who are doing their job are getting framed in a bad way. Framed as rooting for the virus instead of just living in reality. So, thank you for letting me vent here a little bit. As a casual golf fan, I don't need Tiger anymore. And when I look at the landscape of golf, it's in a really good place right now. And it can, to me at least, continue to grow, continue to expand without the aid from Tiger Woods, without needing him to win another major or two, without needing him at the top of the leaderboard week in and week out. Even if he's not winning, but if he's close, I don't need that to watch anymore. Because just going back to yesterday, Tiger was nowhere close, not relevant at all. But it was one of the best and most exciting finishes you will see in a major championship. At one point last night, in the back nine, you had 7 golfers tied for the lead. 7. All with 5, 6, 7 holes to play. They're talking and they're already going through the scenarios of what a 7-way playoff would look like. Could you imagine? That would have been awesome. Not to mention, then you have one of the best drives we'll ever see in history from Colin Morikawa. Drives it just short of the pin from the tee box. Gets an eagle, breaks away from the pack, and wins his first major at 23. So when I look at golf, when I look at the exciting finish that we just had in the major, when I look at the youth and the talent that's coming up and right now bursting onto the scene, the future is extremely bright. There is way more than enough talent to sustain and grow the game of golf. Because Tiger, outside of the Masters, has essentially been irrelevant since he's really come back these last 2 years. Phil is fun, but Phil is fun. Phil is the fun uncle on the tour. He gives you a laugh anytime he talks. He's a cool guy to be around. But when it comes to actually watching golf, he stinks. Let's be honest. Let's call it for what it is. He really doesn't have it anymore. But, CBS brings on the broadcast. He's making sex jokes. He's sparring with Nick Faldo. It's fun. Phil Mickelson is the fun uncle. But when it comes to actually playing golf, he's not good. So he's not bringing in viewers. Again, Tiger not being anywhere near the leaderboard is not bringing in viewers. But see, that doesn't matter. Because the actual talent on the course, I think, at least for me, but that's why I'd love to get your thoughts, is enough to keep the game going. Is enough to grow the game. Because to me, when I look at the entire landscape of golf, golf is in the same exact position as the NBA, as the NFL, and as the NHL in this aspect. The legend, the GOAT, the guy we have revered, the icon of that respective sport is aging out. And a new wave of youth is coming in. The NBA. Now, LeBron's still playing at an elite level. The Lakers still have greater chances than anyone to win the title. But he's 35 years old. And he's been playing for a very long time. Those legs have a lot of miles on them. So while LeBron still, yes, is still high, still one of the best players in the league. I mean, he'll finish second in the MVP voting this year. Clock is ticking. Time is not on LeBron's side. But that's okay, because guess what? The NBA doesn't need another Michael Jordan or LeBron James, because they have so much talent coming through the pipeline. Devin Booker showing off. Luka Doncic is emerging like the next great star of this game. You have Kawhi Leonard still incredibly talented. You have Kevin Durant. The point is you have a lot of young, talented players coming up and really emerging on their own. Jason Tatum has been great. Joel Embiid is a rock there in Philly. There's enough talent to come up so that once LeBron leaves, you don't need another star player, another icon, another polarizing figure to either love or hate. Because there's enough talent to go around to make the game exciting. The NFL, same thing. Tom Brady's 43 years old. 2 years, I would say, at best, he has left to have a window to at least compete for a Super Bowl. If he wants to play after that, fine, but he won't be anywhere near Super Bowl contention, and he'll be like, to me, Tiger Woods is right now. That's okay. The NFL doesn't need to hold on to Tom Brady because they have a lot of young, blossoming quarterback talent. Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, Lamar Jackson, just to name a few. Russell Wilson's still in the peak of his career. Still a lot of young quarterback talent that's ready to take over, ready to burst on the scene once Tom Brady's out of the picture. The NHL is the same thing. Connor McDavid's their best player, and he is still very young. The youth that continues to burst onto the NHL scene is amazing. And golf is the same thing. Tiger Woods is aging. He's still playing. He won the Masters last year. He showed you, at least in the first round of the PGA Championship, he can be in contention. Maybe not for 4 rounds, but he can have a round or two that'll put him right there. In some tournaments, he can still win. But I don't think golf needs Tiger to always be atop the leaderboard, to always be in the hunt on Sundays in a major to grow the game, to get attention to the game. The young talent that is currently on the golf scene right now is incredible. Colin Morikawa, 23 years old. 23. I'm a big Brooks Koepka fan. Him and the Bryson DeChambeau rivalry, to me, is good for golf. Some jabs going back and forth. Bryson is a polarizing figure, to say the least. He's good. So he'll be, again, one of those guys that you'll see at the name, and either you'll root for him at the top or you root for him to fail. There's enough young talent. You still have, if they can figure it out, guys like Jordan Spieth. Justin Thomas, very young and very talented. Rory's a guy who, if he can just figure it out, would still be really good. There's enough talent, there's enough names there, to me, where golf doesn't need Tiger Woods anymore to be relevant. Golf doesn't need Tiger 2 shots off the lead on a Sunday for us to tune in. Because guess what? Especially now, I hate to say it, with college football gone, and a lot more majors to come in golf, not just this year, but I think there's 7 majors left in the next 11 months. So we're going to have a lot of big-time golf play this next calendar year. I think a lot of us are watching a lot more golf than we would because of college football not being played. And I think once viewers, especially again, if you're a casual golf fan that maybe don't watch as much as the diehard fan, when you see the talent that's out there, when you see the skill level, how high it is, when you see even the different styles of play, I think it'll hook you in.